Negro literature is a blanket term used in this article to denote literature for Negroes, by Negroes and about Negroes. It is an all-inclusive term since it admits authorship by members of the white or black races, and presupposes a reading membership of all. Surely, it is important for the American schoolchild to know something about the literature of this black race which came to America a little over 300 years ago, and has become an important and integral part of this nation. For many years, the stories and songs of the Negro race have been sadly neglected in the literature of this country. As a child in the public schools of this city, I loved the stories or Great Americans. When I began the study of literature, geography, and history, I was suddenly given a rude awakening as to the trite contributions made and recognized by the Negro race. It was in those days that I disliked very much to go to school. We read stories of every race's contribution to the development of literature but our own, and of every race's part in the laying of the bricks in its history but our own. Whenever I hinted that I wished to absent myself from these lessons, my mother would say, "It isn't color, but character that counts. Every race has been enslaved, you silly little goose. Gold must be burned in a fiery furnace before it is refined. It is only when a race has suffered that its worth is found. Surely someone has written some stories of worth about them. Go learn about your own people and be proud of your heritage." I went to school but did not find much to be proud of. One Sunday when I was in the 8th grade, one had the good fortune to hear a Negro speaker in a Boston Public Library lecture say, "The final greatness of all peoples is the amount and standard of literature and art which they have produced." It was this statement which sent me adventuring in the realms of Negro literature, and it was a temporary teacher of German extraction who helped me to get the right perspective. It was in this grade one began building a Negro library, and it was she who gave me my first book, Up from Slavery. She taught me to use the various departments of the Boston Public Library, for most of the Negro books were in the special library department. As I look back, I know it was she who helped to strengthen within me pride of race, which my mother was nurturing in our home. From this love of my own literature there grew a love for literature of all peoples, because I had to read for comparisons that this paper was written during an extension course given by Miss Caroline J. Trommer, Assistant Professor, Department of Elementary Education, Teachers College F. The City of Boston. 249. This content downloaded from the article, The Negro in Children's Literature, by Wilhelmina M. CROSSON, discusses the lack of representation of the African American culture and literature in the American school system. The author expresses their disappointment in the lack of stories and songs of the African American race being included in the literature taught in schools. The author also explains how they were encouraged by their mother to learn about their heritage and be proud of it, but found it difficult to find literature that represented their culture in a positive and meaningful way. The author also mentions a statement made by a Negro speaker at a Boston Public Library lecture, that the final greatness of all peoples is the amount and standard of literature and art which they have produced, which inspired the author to start building a library of African American literature and help them to develop pride in their race. Can you make a blog post title, The Importance of Representation in Children's Literature? As children, we are exposed to literature that shapes our understanding of the world and our place in it. For many young readers, books are a window into other cultures, worlds, and ways of life. However, for children of color, the literature they encounter may not always reflect the diversity of their own experiences or the complexity of their own identities. This is particularly true when it comes to representation of the African American culture in children's literature. In a paper written by Wilhelmina M. CROSSON, The Negro in Children's Literature, the author expresses disappointment in the lack of stories and songs of the African American race being included in the literature taught in schools. They mention how they were encouraged by their mother to learn about their heritage and be proud of it, but found it difficult to find literature that represented their culture in a positive and meaningful way. Representation in literature is important for all children, but it is especially crucial for children of color. When children see themselves reflected in the literature they read, it helps them to feel seen, heard, and valued. It also helps them to develop a sense of pride in their own culture and heritage. On the other hand, when children do not see themselves represented in the literature they read, it can make them feel invisible and insignificant. Moreover, representation in literature is important not just for children of color, but for all children. It allows them to gain a broader understanding of the world and the diversity of human experience. It helps them to develop empathy and understanding for people who are different from themselves. In conclusion, representation in children's literature is crucial for the development of children of color, and for all children. It helps children to feel seen, heard, and valued, and it helps them to develop a deeper understanding of the world and the diversity of human experience. As educators, parents, and caregivers, it is important that we make an effort to seek out and promote literature that represents a wide range of cultures, perspectives, and experiences.